Hello everyone, this is Ron from High Tech Legion, and this is part of our review of the ASUS GTX560 DirectCU II top video card. And just as a reminder that this isn't the TI version of the GTX560, but just the non-TI version, which retails for around $200. But the ASUS GTX560 DirectCU II version is the overclocked version. That retails for about $220 on the initial offering. And what we're going to do is take a look at the software bundled with this video card, which consists of the ASUS SmartDoctor software and the GamerOSD software. You can see if I minimize this ASUS SmartDoctor software, you can see it stays in the tray icon, and the GamerOSD tray icon right beside it also pops out the GamerOSD software. This software, let's look at this first before we go into the ASUS SmartDoctor. The ASUS GamerOSD allows you to record your screenshots or videos for your games. Note that this will only work for games and it will not work for recording a desktop. And here we can have in capture mode, you can select between broadcast and movie. Two buttons right there, advanced and start broadcasting. Click on advanced setting, and this brings out your options as to what type of video you like to record. You have the for video size, you have the option from 320 by 240 to 720 by 480. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be capable of recording a 1080p video. We go to 480, 720, 480, and video frame rate capture from 10 FPS to 30 FPS. And I'm going to click on the sound capture device drop down, and doesn't seem to be capable of recording sound either. But you can control your broadcast port on this option. And lastly, the movie format. You have the option of either XVID MPEG-4 file or an WMV file at the bottom, and so click cancel, so you can go back. And second option is the hotkeys. You can access these while in game, so you don't have to so you can record it, and it requires 3 buttons each by default. You can adjust the combinations here by pressing this icon on the right side and pressing the combination that you want to replace it with. And at the bottom is where, if you, for example, recorded a movie or a screenshot, you click this button to see the directory where it's saved as. Since I didn't record any yet, and no screenshots yet, the directories will be empty. And just close this software now, and let's go to the SmartDoctor software. If you look at it, you can see that on the left side there's an animated area here. It just shows you the health of your card, basically. If something goes wrong, if the temperature is too high or voltage is too high, if it has a setting that it cannot handle, it should say it there. It should notify the user. And at the top, you can see the name of your video card. This is just a shortcut. This is the internal ASUS naming of your video card. It can't fit the entire name, of course. And on the right side of that are the settings, which are the current settings of your video card. Since this is the top version of the GTX560, it comes pre-overclocked right out of the box with a 925 MHz core and 4200 memory instead of the 810 and 4008 default memory speed. And also lists the vCore and the processor speed. So you can see there are 3 tabs right in the middle. Can't click the top part, but I'm guessing it has to do with laptops or battery control, or maybe NVIDIA Synergy. Maybe we'll once that new technology comes out, we'll be able to see it something in this area. But right now we can see the GPU temperature tab. Kept 26 degrees Celsius, and for Americans, the Fahrenheit equivalent is listed on the right below that. As you can see, it goes up to 100 degrees. So, and at the bottom there's also a temperature monitoring area for your RAM of your video card. But if your video card supports it. But this GTX 560 DirectCU II top video card does not have that, so this area is grayed out. Note that you can't adjust your fans through clicking anywhere in the area at all. This is just strictly a monitoring tab. And the next tab below that is the fan speed, which I'm going to try clicking here. So nothing's going on. You can't. This is another monitoring area for your fan speed. You can't adjust it through here. And right now, since we're basically pretty much idle on desktop, it's about 1110. I'm not sure if it's RPM. But I'm guessing it is. So out of 100, that will be around 10% of the total fan speed. And at the bottom, you can see that there are sliders for VCore, engine, and memory, and you can adjust to overclock or underclock your card. For example, 925, you can see the maximum is 1025, so that should be good if you want to try overclocking your video card all the way up to beyond 1000 megahertz. Although this GTX 560 DirectCU II top video card is already about 110 megahertz overclocked on the default. That's we'll try later how far we can push this thing. And the VCore can also be adjusted all the way to 1.112, and the memory up to 4800. Now I'm going to try downclocking it to the default, the reference GTX 560 non-TI settings, which is the 810 engine. I can 810 in the engine clock, and the memory clock is lowered down to 4008. This is one of the drawbacks of not being able to manually type in. See, there's nowhere, if I right click, there's nowhere to manually type in the value I want. The memory slider only goes in increments of 4 or 6. So I can't, from 410, I can't go to 408. It goes yeah, in increments of 6. So 404 or 4010. So, and at the bottom, the buttons at the bottom is the apply. This is a set clock right here, and once you do that, this pop-up message will pop up. And since we downclocked it, there's no offset megahertz, but it tells you the what you set it to from what. And also the button right beside that is the default clock in case you make a mistake or you just revert it. See, it immediately goes back, but you have to hit apply for that to happen. And of course, there's also this message that pops up. And on the left side, you have minimize, close, and this question mark button is actually the SmartDoctor help. It will open up the SmartDoctor help file. In case you don't know what you're doing, or everything is in there. And let's close it now, and let's get inside the settings, which is under this button right here. Let's click it, and it opens up this window right here. The first tab is settings. You have the monitor polling interval, and the lowest is 5 seconds, and which is the default one, and the last one is up to 1 minute. Seems to be a typo there in the software. And overheat protection can be enabled through here. See if we can set. I think this is the default. I didn't touch this. I know this one. I think I changed the minimize SmartDoctor at next reboot, but everything else is a default setting. And you can disable also your warnings when you're playing 3D games, so it doesn't pop out in the middle of. Doesn't ruin your gaming session. And the next one is to minimize. You can leave it, for example, if you have a single monitor instead of having multiple monitors, where you can just freely move your SmartDoctor software on another window. So while you're playing your main window, what this option does is it automatically minimizes the SmartDoctor software when you launch a game. So for users who only have a single monitor, you can, and if you want to look at the settings, this automatically minimizes the SmartDoctor software whenever you launch a game, so it doesn't interfere. And at the bottom, overclocking range enhancement, which basically enables the voltage adjustment. And see this is enabled actually in the BIOS of your ASUS software, depending on ASUS hardware rather, and depending on your video card, it might or may or may not support voltage tweaking for your GPU. See if I disable this, it will black out. The screen will black out for a bit while the GPU setting is set. Okay, now it moved everything to the middle of the screen. Let's just drag everything down so you can see again. There you go. And the next tab is the monitor tab, where you can set the voltage alarms. Basically disabled right there, since we have it disabled. Let's try enabling overclocking. Let's see if that turns on. It seems to be grayed out still. So, but the other setting here is the temperature alarm. GPU at the default is 100 degrees Celsius, which is what NVIDIA recommends. You can lower it if you'd like, if you're not comfortable with the 100 degrees Celsius. And you can have the fan alarm setting as well. The default is 500 RPM, and in case you forget what the defaults are, you can just click this button right here and we'll return it to what the factory setting was. Also, this next tab is the fan control. While we're here, I'm going to compare the different fan speeds of the ASUS GTX560 non-TI DirectCU II top video card, and compared to the stock GTX560, the ASUS DirectCU II top has 2 fans, which run at a lower RPM than most cooling solutions for video cards. It doesn't, so that means it's rather quiet, so it doesn't need to run at a high RPM to cool your system. Also has a very good heatsink, as you saw in our unboxing and overview video. So you can, as you can see, we have right now, I'm actually doing something, but earlier it was 26, 27. This is pretty much under 30 degrees for your desktop. That's a very good temperature for a heavily overclocked factory video card. And right now we have it in automatic fan control. At the middle, you have the smart cooling feature, which you can set the temperature boundaries, and you can adjust it the fast, medium, or slow speed of your RPM speed of your fan, rotation speed, depending on your desired temperature here on the side. But we're going to go to manual mode right now, and the default is of course the lowest, 10%. That's what you're hearing right now. And during the duration of this test, noise test, I'm not going to talk, and you could just listen to the different fan noise settings. I will increase it incrementally by 10%, and until we reach the maximum fan speed. Okay. Alright, if you notice, the fan level from 10% to pretty much 40% was inaudible at all. You can't hear anything. It was very quiet. You can hear, I can only hear the clicking and the hard drive noise on my system, and the default temperature, default fans inside the case. As usual, as with all my video card reviews, the microphone and the camera is about 22 inches away from the video card, and the video card itself is inside an NZXT Hades case with the default fans. And if you notice that from 80 to 100%, the fan noise was at its fastest, and there's no difference between 80 to 100%. Although during my testing, I'm pretty sure it didn't reach 40% total, and it never reaches that level at all. It never reaches 80% in fan speed. So it's always actually quite comfortable at low 10 to 30% fan speed whenever you're playing. Shouldn't be a concern for anyone. And the next tab is the Hyperdrive. And for those who don't know, Hyperdrive is a feature in ASUS SmartDoctor, which is an automatic overclocking feature. You have presets here for 3D game mode, CPU usage, and temperature mode. The CPU usage is actually grayed out. I'm not sure. I think it's only enabled if you have an ASUS motherboard, so I can communicate with that. I don't have an ASUS motherboard in hand, so I can't test right now. But I'm pretty sure from what I remember, is that it depending on your CPU usage, your GPU will dynamically overclock with it. In 3D game mode, it depends on what game, the demands of that game, it will overclock for that. At the bottom, you have the manual Hyperdrive, and this message pops out when you enable it. And there's also seems to be a typo in here as well. The function is missing an N there. Can enable it. Just pretty much a standard warning whenever for your overclocking. And you can set the multiplier here. You can 6 from default is 6, but you can set it from 0 to 100 megahertz. You don't need to enable Hyperdrive, so just cancel that. And the last tab is the information tab. Basically has the same information as that: the name of your video card, internal ASUS manufacturing name, and the chip that is inside, your memory size, your BIOS version, and the CUDA cores. And just a couple of things of note. I've used other software before. There are things I like about this software. It has a lot of features. I like the fact that you can adjust you can adjust the V-core as well. But there's some issues I have with it. For example, there's no option to manually type the value. And that's just like I demonstrated earlier. Like I can't input a precise DDR setting or memory setting for it. But also, I'm not sure if this is skinnable, but as far as I know, this is the only skin available. There's some things about it. For example, this area doesn't need to be that big. The VGA card status area just seems to be I would rather have the setting area to be larger than this area right here. So it's harder to to slide for on systems that are on higher resolutions. For example, this appears very small, and this area right here, it's hard to drag if you need to drag something real quick. See, it stops if I try to drag it really fast. But if I had to drag it, I have to drag it slowly like this to move it around. It's just little things that are could be made better. Also, there's the typos that were all over that software, and that's pretty much it. And let's go back to our review. Thanks for watching.